Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Prog Report podcast interview. This is Roy. Hope you guys are doing okay out there. My guests today on this episode are Diego Tejeda and Eric Gillette from the band Temic. Kyle Fagala and I got to speak with the two of them about their new album, Terror Management Theory, forming the band, what lies ahead, and everything else. But before we get started, just a reminder to subscribe to our YouTube channel, wherever you get your podcasts, progreport.com, and follow us on all our socials. And now our chat with Diego and Eric from Temic. Good to have you guys on the podcast. Of course, we're all acquainted. Eric, we know you very well from all your Neil Morris doings, and Diego, your time with Haken and the Shattered Fortress you guys did, and all these other projects you guys have been involved in over the years. So this should be a lot of fun. Kyle is joining here on this one. So thanks, Kyle, for being here, man.
Glad to be here. Yeah.
Cool. So, God, I don't want to get started. I mean, where are you guys each now, right? Are you both in your homes, I guess? Where are you located?
Yeah, I mean, I believe I'm in my home studio in Mexico City, and this is what I've been kind of most of the work for the album was done here. And Eric, where are you now? You doesn't sound like you normal.
I'm at my dining table actually because my studio is a mess. So I was like, I don't have time to clean it up. Sometimes when you're working, things are just like. Plus, we're living here right now, so we're about to break ground actually this week. So
Nice.
we'll be building, and then I'll have my space back. But for the meantime, we're all crammed in here.
Well,
So
cool.
living in my studio space. So it's been fun.
So, we got the new Temic album. What's the release date on that again? I should have written it down here, but
17th of November.
17th?
17th of November.
Or November 17th for people in America. So
That's right. So we're here to talk about that Terror Management Theory, killer record. Congrats on that. It's been a long time coming. I know you guys been working on this a really long time. But let's circle back a little bit. How long have you two known each other? When did you guys first start working together? Was it the Shattered Fortress thing you guys first did, or was it before in any time?
it was actually we met before, didn't we, Eric?
Yes.
Back in, I think 2016. I remember
Yeah.
Hayden supported Neil Moore's band in a couple of shows in Europe. I remember doing Sweden, and I don't remember what else. It was only like 4 or 5 shows, I believe, and that's when we actually officially met. And I remember Eric at the end of the tour gave me a copy of his first solo album. Apologies, I forgot the name of the
Afterthought. Yeah, and then ended up asking him, and he played on 2 or 3 tracks on my second album, which was
Right.
before Shattered Fortress. So
Yeah.
we've known each other quite a while at this point.
Quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you start talking about working on your own project, your own band? At what point did that get started?
Well, I know on the Shattered Fortress tour, that's when things really gelled with us musically and off stage, and that's when I think we hinted, yeah, we should do something. Sometimes it's, people say that and it's just talk, but we consistently mentioned that over the years, and it just took until 2020 for it to happen. But we've been talking about it for.
That's funny you
since the
mentioned that.
Shattered Fortress tour, as far as I can remember.
How many times do you meet other bands? You go on tour, you meet this guy, that guy, and you're always just about to form a new band, right? That's like a conversation that comes up all the time. We should work together, and then nothing ever happens. Is that like pretty much all the time?
Definitely not for me. Yeah, I'm gonna be very honest. You meet people, and this is one of the things like Eric and I talked about when we, fast forward when we were discussing Temic and the ethos of the band or the band members. But the musical aspect is of course very important. And then, as you mentioned, you go on tour and you see a musician and you're like, oh my god, this guy is, it's got incredible chops. But there's much more to it, right? Like to have something harmonious and have a good, to actually have a desire to form a band, at least for me, it goes beyond just the musical aspect, because it is very important, of course, and that's, of course, the first step. But then it's the elements of, do we gel personally well? Do we get along well? This is a thing we discussed countless times. When you're on tour, you play a show that's only 2 hours, but the rest of it 22 hours, you hanging out with these people. So I think that's possibly equally important, or if not more important than the musical aspect. So with Eric, when I met Eric, that was one of the things. Like, musically we gel very well. Of course, Eric has been incredible musician, incredible keyboard player, incredible drummer, and if he wanted to, he could play the whole Temic band by himself. But that's there's no doubt about the quality of musicianship here. But on a personal level also we gel very well, and that was a thing that ticked all the boxes. So yeah, like I cannot even recall any other time where I've been like, oh yeah, this guy's amazing, let's make a band and another band. At least not on my side. I don't know about your, more. I take it easy.
Yeah.
I hate collaborating with other people, so I'm with you, Diego. So I wanted to share the first time I saw you guys playing together. I think it may have been on one of the cruises, but I know for sure Shattered Fortress at the Irving Plaza in New York. I saw you guys, and it was awesome. Like I distinctly remember. You see bands sometimes, you're like, the album was better. I was expecting more. You guys really crushed it. I mean, it sounded amazing, and actually got to hang out with Eric after the show with JC as well, and Cesar Mendiburo, who's a mutual friend of ours. And I don't know if you remember this, Eric, but he recommended that you should do a band with Seaman on the drums, who's now your drummer. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
but it's
I vaguely do. I remember us talking about him while we were getting hot dogs, but I don't remember in what context. But that makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah, that was right before I think you sang all the lyrics to Shimmer by Fuel. But anyway, that's another story.
Man, that's really deep.
Yeah, right. I'm going. Yeah,
Hey.
It's funny because I was like, no, you need to play with like Luke Holland or so. I was like, fixated on these like YouTube drummers, but he's an awesome drummer. So I want to ask you kind of about him, and then also Frederick on vocals. How did they get involved? What was the connection point to them?
Yeah, definitely. When we did the Shattered Fortress tour, Seaman was working as part of the staff, so he was doing videos, and also I think he did drum tech as well.
Yeah,
and I also knew him from before. Like he did, I believe 1 or 2 tours with Haken, one working as a staff, and the other one where he was playing. His band Arkansas were opening the opening act in Europe. Gotcha. So we got to know each other, and we got to know each other in a personal level as well, not only the musical level. So musically, again, he's an incredible drummer. He has a lot of energy, very precise, hardworking dude. He's the kind of guy who the whole album is mostly one takes, honestly. Like he just recorded the whole album and just, I did 4 takes. I'm just choosing whatever I want. Absolutely, efficient. So again, like Eric and Seaman and I, we kind of got to hang out a little bit during the Shattered Fortress tours as well. So the personal element was definitely there. And I remember that's one of the things we talked about, right, Eric, when were discussing band members. Seaman was kind of a first obvious choice.
Yeah,
that reason.
I mean, I don't really remember throwing around. It was kind of the first one, and we just kind of like, yeah, let's see what he can do. We know personally that he's a great dude, and we know he can drum, and let's kind of. And then he started kind of sending in some rough demos, which sounded great. I mean, they could have been passed off for album drums, the way he recorded them and played them. But yeah, once we heard the first few tracks, we were like, oh yeah. And then it was through him, correct me if I'm wrong, but that Seaman was the guy that was like, hey, I got the singer, you gotta hear this guy Frederick. And then we listened to, they sent around some links to his band Marathon, and I remember hearing his voice, just thinking, man, that is what we need this energy, we need this unique, he's got such a unique voice. So one of those voices, when you hear it, it's identifiable, and he's got the power, and he's got the ethereal high falsetto, like. And then when you see his energy on stage, it's like that's the next element that this band is going to need, because this, as you've heard the album, it's pretty high energy throughout. Only a few moments where we're kind of down, and so yeah, I thought that, man, it was just the perfect. And it's funny how it all just kind of fell into place. Because when we started writing back and forth, it was kind of like just me and Diego going back and forth. We didn't know who else was going to be involved at that point, and It just kind of happened.
So, really obvious question here, and probably one you're going to get as much as any other question, but the name Temic, I've already used ChatGPT to figure out where you get the name, but I'd like to hear who brought the name, and then also kind of what that means to you and what you want people to know about it.
Yeah, so first of all and foremost, choosing a band name is very difficult nowadays.
Oh my God, it's the hardest thing.
Absolutely.
Especially when we knew we had talked about we want a one word name. That already makes it even harder. Go ahead. I just want to throw
Yeah,
that
yeah,
in
yeah.
there.
That was one of the things we discussed first. Like the options. What are the options, right? So we have. You can make up a stupid name with random words, like the Mushroom Collective Happiness.
That's taken, but yeah.
You're
Rhino. Yeah,
taken
and
is
that's
the
the
other
thing.
thing. That's
And you think
everything's
like,
taken.
oh,
Yeah.
that's super original. And then you go on Spotify and you find 5 bands with 5 listeners that have exactly that name. And
Right.
it really is complicated, especially nowadays. Maybe back in the day, you hear the stories about bands that they got the same name and didn't realize that until like, a few years later, because now you use access Spotify and, it doesn't matter if it's a band with just 1 listener a month, they exist. And that's a potential thing. So we said, okay, well, we can have that, which we were not very inclined to. And we as Eric's mentioned, we had this conversation. It's like, well, it would be very nice to have just a 1 word name and something that is also identifiable and something that is from the get-go kind of iconic, and we can associate the band with it. So we had a discussion back and forth for about, I don't know, a month. I had a list of names too, and again, all of them were taken, just as Kyle pointed out. You think, oh, this is great, and it's all taken. So I have a big, over the pandemic, I've been very obsessed with studying all the ancient cultures in Mexico, like the Aztecs, the Mayans, and Zapotecs. There's a plethora of them. So I got very interested by the language Nahuatl, which is a language that's still spoken to this day, but it was originally spoken by the Aztecs back in the day. So I came across this dictionary, and I really liked the sound of that language. And I don't really know any bands that have a name in that language, right? So I think I shortlisted like 5 or 4 suggestions of names that I like. Firstly, how they sounded, and secondly, what they meant. Because also we wanted to have, when we were asked, have a good, strong sense of why we named the band Temic, and there is a reason rather than just stupid name. We have a reason and something that we're happy. So, but also the word has to be you need to be able to pronounce it in every language, right? So there's so I came up with about 4 or 5 different suggestions and sent it to the guys separately and said, like, look, I came up with this, guys. I don't know if you guys liked it. I think everyone was very excited about the idea of this language now. And funnily enough, I asked them to shortlist their favorites, and I think everyone chose Temic, and it was my favorite too, but I didn't say anything. And so so I of course told them, the meaning is dream, and I think that kind of makes sense, in the sense of this band has started with a strong vision of what we wanted to be. And as Eric mentioned, we started writing songs without a band member and without anything, but we knew exactly what sound we wanted, what kind of band members we wanted, and what the music we wanted. So that kind of makes sense, and here we are. We have a good foundation of what we can say what the name means. So that was it. That was the story.
You got a strong mix of prog metal, a lot of melodic moments, some sort of genty moments in there, bringing in your guitar sound, Diego, your unique keyboard sounds, all that kind of stuff. Did you guys have a predetermined idea of what kind of music you wanted to make, or as you're writing, it evolves into what it became?
Well, when Diego and I originally connected about it and decided to start writing, he kind of had the idea of if we were to take, like, I think he mentioned a few different electronic music and basically their formats in structures, and kind of arrange it for kind of a modern metal band. And really what that meant to me was like that it's going to be about the songs and not just a noodle fest, which is great. We have our moments, but we knew we wanted to make songs and make a record full of great songs. And so yeah, it's like everything was really from the get-go had, there's a lot of purpose behind what we were going to do. And which makes it easier when you're writing to write for that. It took me a little bit to be able to, because I'm not really, I haven't done a lot of writing of that sorts of kind of music, but we found kind of a system that worked pretty well with us initially, since it was 2020 and we were doing it remotely and sending ideas back and forth. And but yeah, that was the original kind of concept that Diego brought up to me, was incorporating a lot of those electronic elements and infusing it with kind of the sound we are kind of familiar with already. But I knew that it would be cool because obviously he is meticulous with his sounds, and so I knew that all of those sounds would bring it up to the next level, and it was something completely different and unique from what I've done. So I was super excited about that.
Yeah, I think what's surprising a little bit, and I wonder what the choice in this. You kind of alluded to it, but you don't do a solo on every song, right? Like maybe you might have with some other projects. So, what was the determining factor for that? Was it, oh, this song just doesn't need it, or I'm gonna hold back on this, I'm gonna let the song be it? How do
I
you
think
how do you
a little
decide?
bit of all of that. Yeah, I think some of it, it wasn't even conversation, in the sense that we knew we were writing songs. And when you get to a point in a song, it's usually pretty evident, oh, there needs to be a solo here, or there needs to be some sort of melody. Um, and and it just so happened, which is pretty funny. And I appreciate and I love the comments when people are like, "Where's the solos? Where's the solos?" And I wanted to just be like, hang on," because really, it's just kind of so happened that the first two singles didn't, or songs that didn't feature solos, when uh, a big majority of the rest of the record actually have solos. So
Right.
that was not intentional, but just kind of funny how that worked out. So yeah, plenty more solos on the record, but it was it wasn't like, it's not like we had a conversation about every song, like should this one have a solo or not. It was just kind of like, let's follow the music, and if it was evident that there needed to be one, we just kind of went for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in addition to what Eric's saying, I think in terms of solos, coming from the perspective of a keyboard player, I think you have to really fight to have a keyboard solo. But in a personal point of view, I mean, and it's really funny. Like some of the keyboard solos you put on the record, people think are guitar solos. Some people
Right.
have come
Well,
about
your sounds can
that.
sometimes be
Yeah, I was
confusing
gonna
like that.
say.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But
He's coming for my gig, man.
Yeah.
exactly.
Taking my job.
Um, yeah, but I think in general, as Eric was saying, and kind of in addition to what he said, is definitely that was something we discussed from the very beginning, what kind of sound we wanted. I knew I didn't want to recreate something I've done in the past. Want to move on and do something different. So there was no point in starting another band that sounded just like what I did, or Eric just regurgitating what he's been doing. We wanted to do something new, and we were discussing. And I even remember at the beginning when we talked about the ethos of the band and the band members, uh it was still not clear what kind of direction we wanted. And eventually, as Eric's saying, it's like, oh, I had this idea. It's like, what if we merge these things? Like, hasn't been done like maybe to that degree, but I think that would be very cool. And also from a personal point of view, because I'm the one bringing the electronic elements. This is where I am at the moment, right? And we discussed the shredding aspect, and we discussed all that stuff, that we are capable of doing it, but doesn't mean that we have to do it. And I think that's something that sometimes in prog, for me, puts me off, that you sometimes try as a musician to impress too hard, and you forget about the core elements of what makes a good song. And what makes a good song is good lyrics, good vocal melodies, good harmonies, right? And if the song needs a solo, and the solo has a position, it has a purpose that is going to transition you from one place to another, please have it and make it special, rather than, oh, we need to put a solo because that's kind of a standard, kind of a formality. So yeah, as Eric was saying, definitely the focus was in the songwriting, and another element that was very important for us too is to have a constant pulse in our music. So that playing live, that's something that we discussed, that it's super energizing, playing live, and when you see people kind of getting into this mode and moving along, whether they're headbanging or just moving the body or doing nothing in the background, you see that a lot on prog shows. That was also a thing that we had in mind from the very beginning too.
Right.
Well, I think needless to say, you were successful at it. I think it is cool to see music, like knowing, I don't know Frederick as well, but knowing the other three of you and kind of what you've done and kind of what the background is, it feels reminiscent of the music you've done, but also it feels new and different and it feels modern, which is cool. So, congratulations on that. I want to shift into this just to talk about some of the songs you've released already. So Count Your Losses was a lot of people's first, glimpse into the band and what you're about. I have to assume there was, and maybe I'm wrong, because you all agreed on Timic and maybe you just agree on everything. Maybe you found like people that y'all just agree on everything. But was there any argumentation around what single you would pick, and how did you land on Count Your Losses being the first one?
Ah, I take that one, Eric, because I honestly don't remember. I think it was mostly a recommendation. I think the label was the one who
Okay.
thought that was a good single.
From the rough demo, I always thought Falling Away would be our first, just because I felt it was really strong and it was really. So at first I was kind of like, oh man, but I'm kind of glad because, not that I'm not saying Count Your Losses is not as good of a song, but I don't know. I think Falling Away is pretty accessible. It's very melodic, and the people I've played it for that aren't even really into prog metal or whatever you want to call it, really kind of they get that song. So and kind of left us somewhere to go. I feel so. I'm really happy with how we released them, and then Mafala obviously with people finally get the solos they're wanting, including the beloved guitar.
Yeah, well, that you mentioned the Mathala. That was the track that I've been harping about since checking out the album, and I love that you guys put that out as a single because it's sort of the long kind of epic, like a lot of
That's what's
solos and
funny
all
is
that
like
kind of
I
stuff,
didn't
and it's
realize
really cool.
how long it was. I
Yeah,
didn't realize how long it was until the video, and then I was like, it's one of those songs for me. It's like I
Yeah.
guess that's a good thing. He's like you don't really realize until it's over. Like oh, that's like 7. I mean, I don't know. The album version has a long kind of a soundscape
yeah. I mean,
outro,
you know what?
but
It's weird. Like singles used to be like you had to be 4 minutes, but that was like really a radio thing, and now that's not as important anymore. So it's put out the best song. Who cares, right? I mean, it doesn't really matter as much anymore. But talk about that song,
yeah.
how that song came about for the closer.
That song actually was a very different song. When I first sent the first song we actually work on as first Eric and I for Temic, I sent him the demo of what it is now, Count Your Losses, and Eric did his thing and sent it back and forth. And Mothala was originally a very different song. We decided to put it kind of like, okay, let's just wait a little bit with this song because it sounds maybe not on the direction we're going, but see if we can actually take it later. And we wrote the whole album. It was just a kind of a couple of months before we actually hit the studio. We had a deadline, and I was like, oh, what about this song? Let's just take it and rework it. And in a way, it was easier to shape it into the sound we wanted because we had the whole album pretty much done. So it was easier to take the elements that were relevant to the sound of the album. And the so the song was written kind of towards the end, and that was it. Like the other element was a choir on that song that that came at the end when we got the first mixes from Rich Mouser. We were like, oh man, I remember writing to the guys like, we need a choir. I feel like this chorus, it's very strong, and I feel like the chorus in that song, the lyrics in that song really encapsulates very well the concept of the album, right? The underlying concept. So Simen put together a choir in Norway, and my wife got together some members of the Threshold Choir and got it done. So it's funny, that was the second song, but it was the last one that we finished on that.
Yeah, I remember actually like that was one I kind of a demo I kind of brought up, and actually it was called Into the Ether, and it's kind of that was what I was kind of referring to. It's kind of hard to like write this kind of style, especially when all the electronic elements are not coming from me. So it's kind of hard to submit a song idea where you encapsulate that. But I really like when I do that, and then Diego just takes it and he'll chop stuff up and move it around and add all these layers, and it comes back, and it's like, oh yeah, that's what it needed. So, and that's what happened. It just took a while for that song. I think we put it on the back burner, not sure if it would fit the album, and then he had a little bit of extra time and sent a rough chopped up demo of that, and it was like, oh, that's it.
Yeah. And also we had by the time we started working on the actual version of Mothala, we had Frederick, and Frederick is a guy who can really bring to life vocal melodies. So I remember saying we didn't use the vocal melodies, the original vocal melodies, but I remember sending him a demo of the verses and the choruses, and of course, I mean, compared to Eric and to Frederick, of course, I don't sing at all. I can pretend I do, but I'm terrible. But that's what you have to do when you're working like that. You have to kind of record yourself, even though you sound like crap, and say, sure, look, guys, I have this idea. And Frederick is super good at listening and just really putting on his energy. And it could be the same vocal melody, but if you listen to Mothala, the verses from the beginning, which is just synths and vocals, to when the band comes in, to the second verse after the keyboard solo, they're all based on the same vocal melody, but the way Frederick delivers, you don't really notice it. It's super interesting how he has this element of narrative on his performance, that he can add so many variations just by the intensity, just by the little ad-libs, changing one note here and there, and it made it much easier to be like, oh, perfect, yeah, this song is great, now we have this, and it was great. That was a perfect kind of closing piece.
It is great track, love it.
I think it's my favorite track on the album. It may be Roy's too, so for whatever that's worth. So
nice. That's awesome.
Wait, what is your favorite track? I don't want to speak for you.
Oh no, yeah, that's the one I wanted to ask about. And I said I was glad it was a single, because
I thought so.
More people hear it.
Got to see Eric playing that guitar. That's what I wanted. So Eric, another quick question, and then I want to ask about music videos, but singing on this album. I think there were people that maybe expected you to sing maybe a little bit more. Is there any plan to maybe do that in future albums, or is that something you kind of intentionally said, I'm going to kind of fill the role of lead guitar and let that be it?
Well, it was pretty intentional that I knew I didn't want to be the lead singer, because seeing as Diego has played on a little, portion of my album, I wanted to differentiate and not want people to think that this is another solo album of mine or some sort of project. But I knew I wanted to be heavily involved in the harmonies and some arranging and recording, and obviously doing that live. But I don't know. I mean, I will say that we have found that Frederick and I's voices really blend well, and I don't know, I really enjoy singing with him. So we've kind of joked and talked about we should do a duet or something where we're both kind of up front with the lead vocals. But again, it's just going to come down to what the song requires, and I'm happy just shredding if need be. But yeah,
gotta leave some stuff for the second album, so
right. So music videos, obviously that's the way that it seems like today, that's kind of the way that people learn about music or that see new music. And so I got to say, your music videos are awesome. The prog rock world, I'm a cinephile. I love, cinematography. In another life, I'm a film director. Your videos don't suck. In fact, they're really good. And a lot of, there's some prog rock videos that pretty rough, and they're almost so bad they're good, but yours are great. So I'm curious, who's the creative force behind the music videos? How did you approach those, and how did you get them done to where they look so good?
I got to talk to Simon. Simon Sadness is the guy who.
Okay.
Again, when Eric and I discussed kind of the ethos of the band members, we decided, okay, we need someone who's an incredible musician, incredible person that we get along with, but also that they have an extra set of skills. that they can bring into the table. And Simen is super good at that, at media, social media, but also videos and videography. And so he, has not only the talent, he has the equipment, and he has the contacts. So all the editing has been done by him. But then we realized that Eric, I didn't know that. I was surprised. I found out like a couple of months ago that he's into is that VFX? Is that what you call it? So I'm not sure when it comes to this.
I'm
So that's
visual
how you
effects
got the
nerd.
sun behind you guys in the falling away video.
That's Eric. Eric did that. Yeah.
Because that looks really good. It came out.
See,
not
it pays off to be
cheesy
a
at
nerd
all. It's
sometimes.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I remember you did a
Oh,
video
thanks,
of like
man.
the Star Wars ship coming in or something. So
Yeah,
maybe
man.
second album. I don't know. We'll see.
Star Wars concept album, maybe. I don't know.
We're geeks, but definitely not. I don't think we're Star Wars geeks. I don't think.
Yeah, they would sue you into oblivion. So but anyway.
Yeah, exactly. They would see you into oblivion for sure.
But you know what, Diego, you're not wrong. I mean, a band in 2023, you got to have as many resources within the band as you can. I mean, it just makes life easier and allows you to do a lot more things. So it's if you can do it, it's the way to go.
And it's super cool because I never experienced this, having people so capable like Simen or Eric. Falling Away is a great example, right? That of course we filmed that video when we were together in Norway. That was in July, and Simen arranged everything. So we go like, oh, I found this perfect place, it's gonna be amazing. And and we discussed some ideas, right? Like oh, how about this, how that, I remember saying, hey, I imagine like a really open shots, because I think the chorus is kind of really big, and it would be amazing to have a drone. Also, I think I discussed with Simen this movie by Lars von Trier, Melancholia, about there's this big planet that is kind of getting closer to the Earth. So the whole movie, you see the normal scenes where there's this big planet in the background that is getting closer and closer. And I told Simen, this is relevant to the lyrics. It would be really good to have that, but I don't know if that's happening or not. This is just my wildest dreams. And all of a sudden, next thing I know is Eric's doing it, and yeah, I know this, I can do it. And and Simen got this drone and got this amazing location, and it's so what's the word? And energizing, so intoxicating working with people like that, because you're like, oh, we can do whatever, and Mothala. This was not, we initially had a different idea for Mothala. We were discussing it. In the end, it didn't work out because of logistics. And, then this whole idea of doing this video came up, and it was developed very quickly, and everyone did the thing. And next thing Simen said like, yeah, I've got this amazing location, and I'm lucky I'm recording stuff next to a volcano, and Eric's doing this After Effects as well. And it's super productive. It's super cool working with people like this. I cannot emphasize it enough, rather than having to depend on whatever the label says. If you have enough funds, going to a director, which is cool, but you leave a lot of responsibilities to others, and here it just gets done, and that's it. What's next? It's very cool.
It makes a difference. I think it makes the product look more serious, more professional. It keeps people watching. So it's awesome. Nice job on it, for real. Let you guys go after this question, but just in wrapping up, I mean, are there plans to try and do some shows and get the band on the road? Are you guys down that path yet?
Yeah, that's absolutely on the cards. This week we had a call with management, and that's definitely on the cards. We already have some shows booked for next year. They haven't been announced. I think they're going to be announced soon. But yeah, that's what it is, And,
awesome, yeah.
That's definitely the aim, and from the very beginning, that's what we wanted to do. Some people have asked us about that, and especially, they ask Eric. It's like, hey, is this a project or a band? It's like, no, this is a band, right? I don't want to speak for yourself, but that's what Eric's been saying.
Yeah. I think everybody wants to see this band play live and see give it its proper due. Anyway, guys, great catching up with you.
Eric's left. Oh,
yeah, thanks for giving us some time. Terror Management Theory comes out November 17th. A few singles out now on YouTube and streaming and everywhere else. Diego and Eric, hey man, we'll be in touch. I'm sure we'll talk again soon. And we'll see you on the road somewhere.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on all our socials and on ProgReport.com for all your news, interviews, reviews, and more. And we'll see you again real soon.